And a new study from the International Chamber of Commerce finds that even if Americans get vaccinated, every American gets vaccinated, the U.S. could still see a slow economic recovery. The study suggests that since we live in a global economy, the U.S. can't fully recover until vaccines are widely available to the rest of the world. Foreign correspondent Maggie Rulli has the details.
A new study warns that no country's economy will truly recover from this pandemic until everyone around the world has access to the vaccine.
We're not going to get out of this until everyone gets out of it. The second, if you want to have an effective economic stimulus, make certain that you invest in a global distribution, global availability of the vaccine.
The International Chamber of Commerce says their study proves that a slow and ineffective global vaccine rollout could cost the U.S. more than $1 trillion.
Why does vaccinating a country on the other side of the world affect someone, like you said, on Main Street in America? How are they connected?
Well, partly because of the nature of the U.S. economy. And the U.S. is one of the most, if not the most interconnected economy in the world.
He gives us this example, tires in Thailand.
So the actual production of the tires which are required to keep the auto industry going in the U.S. are being diminished because Thailand can't access the vaccines and the therapeutics needed to deal with COVID-19.
To keep this global economy churning, Denton says it will take investment from richer nations like the U.S. into COVAX, the global organization attempting to manage a worldwide vaccine rollout. It's something the new Biden administration has committed to joining.
It's actually not an act of kindness in doing so. It's an act of mutual interest. And frankly, it's actually an act of effective economic policy.
Denton says it'll take just a couple percentage points of an increase to the current stimulus proposal to fund the global rollout, and that number will gain a 160 times return on investment. It's not just the ICC. Nearly every global organization is warning against vaccine nationalism. The WHO is urging countries to prioritize the most vulnerable around the world first and their own countries second.
The world is on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure. And the price of this failure will be paid with lives and livelihoods in the world's poorest countries.
This new study shows that the livelihoods of those in the world's poorest countries are intrinsically linked to the livelihoods of people living in America.
I'm really curious what the reaction's been like, because I can see a lot of people, when they're faced with a crisis, turn inward and want to protect their country. And you're trying to convince them actually that the best way to protect their country is by turning outward and trying to boost the global economy. Has that been a hard sell?
Of course there's moral arguments, but at the end of the day, a politician, a leader, needs to be able to explain to their citizens why they are giving this money, not directly into their pockets, but to someone else's pockets. We're giving it to someone else to help them so that they can help you. It's actually an act not of generosity, but of mutual interest.
And Maggie Rulli joins me live now for more. Maggie, it's such an interesting point. You know, you're talking about a potential $1.3 trillion hit to the U.S. economy. That's a startling number. How would this impact the rest of the world?
Well, Dan, that's what's so interesting. It's a startling number for the U.S., but it's going to be a global hit. You know, the ICC says it's hard to even overestimate how much of a negative economic impact this would be for the world. The GDP, they say, globally would get hit more than $9 trillion. $9 trillion. That number is so large, it's hard to fathom. And Diane, what's interesting is that half of that is going to be absorbed by high-income countries like the U.S. You know, John Denton of the ICC, he goes on to sort of remind people this study is coming from the ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce. They are a world-renowned organization. They are respected in the field of economics. He says, you know, people listen to our studies. So even though this one is emotional, it's about people's health, it's about the vaccine, it also impacts the economy, and the world should really listen to this study as well.
Yeah, and scientists are also worried about a slow global rollout. What's their biggest concern there?
You know, this isn't just going to hit the economy, it's also going to hit the health of the world. You know, one of the major concerns for scientists is that even if a country like the U.S. is able to vaccinate their entire population, if another country, you know, the virus goes unchecked, people are not vaccinated, scientists say mutations there are going to run wild. The WHO is out saying they fear that if mutations continue to grow around the world, eventually one of them could become resistant to some of the vaccines that we have. So if something like that happens, Diane, even if you're fully vaccinated in the U.S., if a new mutant strain arises somewhere else, it could go back into the U.S. and ultimately cause harm to people. So again, it goes back to what we keep hearing from the WHO, from the ICC. The world is not going to be safe until every single country is also vaccinated and safe.
So where do we stand now? How long before the world is vaccinated?
Yeah, well, Dan, it's an uphill battle. We did get some good news today, just a few hours ago. COVAX came out announcing they do have their first batch of countries, 18 countries they're going to be sending vaccines into. This is a huge deal. It's something they've been working towards for months. So this is really, really good news. Hopefully we can get these vaccines into poorer nations. But, Dan, even with this good news, we're still facing an uphill battle here. Many countries, they say poorer nations could not vaccinate all of their vulnerable populations for at least another year. So if you think of that, that's a whole other year of vaccine running wild in some of these countries, potentially mutant strains popping up, and also the global economy being impacted. So that is going to hurt not only the world, but the U.S. and especially the U.S.'s bottom line if we don't get control of this around the world.
Yeah, a lot to consider there. Maggie Rulli in London for us. Thanks, Maggie.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.